Hi, and a warm welcome to everybody watching this licentiateship qualification appraisal, and a huge congratulations to Rob Young, or Robert Young, whichever way you would prefer it. You are now a master photographer. You have just qualified with a beautiful newborn panel, and you are now a licentiate of the LMPA. You can go out, shout from the rooftops that you're a master photographer. And I know how much you use the LMPA logos, etc. on your website, and you now can use these licentiateship ones, and you can tell everyone how successful you are. You came to my notice in February this year when you entered a few pictures into the unqualified category. And at that time, way back in February, I said then that you were good enough, your work was good enough for licentiateship. And I don't think you believed me. And it's taken this long really to put your act together, shall we say. I was lucky enough to be able to mentor you, and it's been a privilege to sort of go through your work. And what's interesting is when I talk about the LMPA being here for you as members to help you certify to qualified and train. And part of the training is obviously the monthlies, which are so important now for so many people because it has helped, and I would say hundreds of photographers now within the LMPA move up the ladder. But what's interesting is you said you wanted to know more about newborns, and I advised you to go and see a couple of photographers or look at a couple of photographers' work. And I'm really pleased that you've put in your profile that you were influenced by Rachel Sloane, who you regard as one of the best newborn photographers that you've seen. And it's really funny, when I look at your panel and when I look at your layout panel, I begin to see little inferences of what Rachel Sloane does as well with her rich background. So you're learning from the best. I always work on the premise that the AA advert used to be, if we can't help you, we know a man who can. And therefore, it's exactly the same. If I think you need help or advice in any particular direction, I always know somebody with the LMPA that I can direct you towards, and they will help you. What's interesting is, in a way, how fresh and new you are, and that's what's wonderful about your creative profile. It enables the judges to understand quite a bit. I certainly found out very early on that you hadn't actually been doing newborns that long. You'd been doing weddings, and you were certainly taking photographs for a while, but a year ago is when your dear wife suggested, why don't you try doing newborns? So a year ago you hadn't even held a delicate newborn baby to take photographs of. Your panel scored very well, and looking at these, it's no wonder that it scored well. Under the chairmanship of Paul Cooper, your judges were Mike Ward, Kate Cooper and Sarah Tate. And when you consider Sarah Tate is the first fellow in newborn photography of the LMPA, you had a judge at the very top of the tree in experience as well as judging. Therefore, you should be very, very proud of yourself. I know I told you were good enough, but when you get people like Sarah Tate as your judge giving you high scores, then you know you're good. The three comments from the panelists. One said, a good set of licentiateship panel, attention to editing on some images are needed. Okay, that's fine. You're at licentiateship level and you're going to be learning month on month how to improve your work by entering the monthlies still. The other judges, one said, to say that you'd not held a newborn baby until last year and then go on to produce this panel is quite an achievement. Well done. Your lighting and posing is of a good standard. Your post-production work, however, needs some attention. Now, this has come across from all three judges. You seriously need to look at what you do after you've taken your pictures. And when we come to it, number 6, which was your lowest scoring image, the post-production is very weak indeed. And this is where, if you're going to learn things, if you're going to move on and improve, there are different areas that you need to improve in. Usually at this stage with your posing and things like that, it becomes just little bits. But in your post-production, then you've got to create more of a finesse about your work. And the third judge said, a lovely and varied newborn licentiateship panel which has been well put together. This panel is a real credit to the candidate considering the short time he has been specialising in newborn photography. One or two little mistakes in positioning and posing which will improve with practice. This panel was accompanied by a well-detailed creative profile which helped in the judging process. Well done. And this is what I emphasise all the time to people going for their licentiateship. The creative profile is very important because it enables the judges to know and understand more about you, and that's what it's all about. So let's now go through them. You're successful, you've got a beautiful panel. Now let's see what we can learn and help you improve upon, and for others who are watching this. Because not only is this a good licentiateship panel, you've now become a certified newborn photographer. You've got your certification in newborn photography as well, which is another step up the ladder. And that's what you should be promoting on your delightful website. And talking about your website, just so that everybody knows, when anybody comes to me for mentoring, and I'm willing to mentor anybody, but when I start off the mentoring process, the first thing I do is look at people's websites, because your website should have on it your best photography. It should be something that you're proud of, that you're willing to put up there like a flag and say, this is me. Now, what's interesting is I can then gauge from somebody's website whether they are of the standard, whether they are of a licentiateship standard or above. And that was the first thing that I did with Rob when he asked me to help him. What's interesting is after your success, I thought I would go back and have a look on your website. And it's something I'm starting to do a little bit more of now, because I'm starting to look at successful photographers' pricing. And as this is just between you and me, Rob, you need to now put your prices up. And it's no good saying I'm not in a rich area, I'm not in this, I'm not in that, or whatever. Don't make excuses for putting your prices up, because putting your prices up is a problem you might have between your ears. It isn't a problem the public have. If you produce quality of this nature, then you will find the right customers who will pay what you pay. Now, you're making an awful lot of mistakes on your website, the way that you're pricing things and things like that. And because I know you've already grasped LMPA training with looking and buying videos and entering the monthlies, I would suggest that you try and get on the next course that Paul Inskip runs, which is about improving business. And I believe that if you signed into what Paul Inskip is doing, you would improve leaps and bounds in your business acumen, which is the next step for you. So we start off with an exquisite picture to start with. Hush Little Baby. It's subtle, it's gentle. It's just a delightful picture. This is way above licentiateship level. And this is why I'm saying you should be very, very proud of yourself. Lovely cocooned picture. For me, the yellow duck just takes a little bit too much prominence, but it's still a great shot. Now, in fact, if I go back just to explain, when a photographer goes for a newborn panel, and I advise them to go for what I call certification in newborn photography, what you need to supply is 2 images from 10 different sessions, which makes up your 20. So what you've got here is 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8, 9 and 10, etc. 2 images per baby or per session. And that gives us an idea of your variety, what you produce, what you bring to the game. Now, what's really interesting is usually people say, I don't have a style. And what people say is, oh, well, I don't have a style of what I do or anything else. I just take pictures. Well, guess what? Everybody has a style, even if they don't know it. Look at number 2 and look at number 15. Those two pictures, without a shadow of a doubt, have been taken by the same photographer. You've cocooned the baby, you've given the baby a toy to cuddle, you've cropped them very similar, and they've got the same feel about them. 11 and 12 have got the same style and feel about them. And this is what comes through when you're judging a panel. And remember, we look at 20 images as a complete panel first of all. Normally I would advise people not to put in one black and white image in a panel of 20, because it just looks like the token black and white image just to prove that you can do black and white. The judges don't need proof that you can or can't. The coincidence is that was your lowest scoring picture, but it hasn't harmed your success of your panel. So great shot, great shot. The duck is just a little bit overpowering. Beautiful image. It works. It's delightful. Now again here, your retouching or your post-production on the left side of baby is just faltering a little bit, and this is where you need to get these things right. Perfect image, lovely. And what I do like is, again, hopefully it's because you've been listening to what I say in the monthlies. I love these as square images. It's a beautiful square image. You've given the right space all around the photograph. It works and it's quite beautiful. Again, lovely image. It's of that same style, cocooned baby cuddling a much more subtle bunny rabbit, which is good. I would like to have seen a bit more space on the left hand side. This again would have been a better square image maybe, with a bit more space left and right, but still delightful. Okay, so this was felt to be the weakest image, and in fact if you look around the head on the left and the right, also at the end of I'm guessing it's Dad's hands, it's a bit smudgy. If you look down the left of the hand, it's not blended very well is really the technical term. So it's all down to your post-production. And you'll see when you get your score sheet that post-production for this picture was 0, where it should be 3. So these are the little things that you need to pull up on. Delightful image, really good shot, good quality, propping, you've not overdone the propping, good lighting. Again, lovely image, a little bit of burnout on baby's left hand. You should be shooting hopefully in RAW, and if you're shooting in RAW you should be toning down those highlight areas, because that is not what you want to see, is any burnout on skin. Delightful image. It always amuses me when I see a baby smiling, because when you say that in the viewing lounge, oh look, baby's smiling, you'll get Dad usually going, yeah, it was wind. Where Mum sort of thinks the lovely thoughts, Dads are a little bit more realistic. But it's well dressed, very well dressed indeed, and a delightful image. Again, a really cracking shot. I'd like to have seen half an inch more at the bottom of this, but again, you've dressed baby well, you've got the material drifting off well. Delightful image. So that was the first 10, which was 5 different babies, 2 of each. Now again, we've got another 10 of 5 different babies, 2 of each. For me, this one's a tad too close. I'd like to have seen the end of the material on the left-hand side so that you can see the start of the material that comes in. I love the hand over the basin, and it just works, and it works a treat. Same baby, same bath, but this time look how much nicer it is with being able to see the material and the tassel of the material on the left. Really beautiful, well dressed, and a delightful image. This is gorgeous. Again, very well dressed. It's a really good prop that you've got. You know, as if baby's trying to get out of bed. It's just well done, very delicate. This again is one of those shots where I think I would like to have seen the rest of the basket and made it a square picture. So you need it to come away from baby. This is what you will do if you create your style. And again, if you look at Rachel's work, she got her associateship this year, and she's created a very individual style. And if you look at her associateship panel, there's a lot of squares in that. And this sort of picture just cries out for it being a bit further away, and square. Again, very much like the style of number 2 early on, you've cocooned it well. It's a nice rich material. Baby looks as if it's frowning a little bit, but there's not a lot you can always do about that. It also makes me wonder how a baby can frown, because it's too young to have nightmares about anything. But beautiful shot, hands are lovely, feet are lovely. Again, well cocooned, beautiful richness in the picture. Make sure that you're not doing anything like over sharpening your pictures. It all just looks, for me, just a tad too sharp. I know that can sometimes sound stupid, but it just looks a little bit too sharp in areas. So make sure you're not actually over sharpening your pictures. Beautiful, except I'd like to have seen you further away from the baby. It's a bit too close and it's a bit too white and bright in the head and the shoulders and the body area. If you had come away and given another inch all the way round, or even a couple of inches all the way round, it would have looked more delicate, it would have looked more graceful. You shouldn't have a baby's head that's sort of this large within the frame. But again, I love the richness of the material. Again, the richness comes through, this time beautifully cocooned. The way you've dressed, the tassel has worked beautifully. You have a very feminine touch, which is a compliment. Again, this picture could have been a square and it would have worked just as well. Very similar to one of the shots earlier, the same problem. Your highlights are just burning out a little bit on the left side of baby. You just need to tone those highlights down, and also make sure that you are feathering your light across the baby and not smacking it straight into baby. But again, a beautiful image. And this one I absolutely love. Again, you've dressed it beautifully. It's a fabulous pot that you've put the baby in. The hat is obviously their hat, I hope, because it needs to be obviously individualistic to the baby and the parents. But this has got a beautiful quality about it, a beautiful feel to it, and it's a really, really delightful image. And that's a fabulous set of pictures. Now, that is a really good pass, and Rob, you should be very, very proud of yourself. And I can hear the champagne corks are popping. You should now obviously continue to enter the monthlies, but now you should be putting your entries into the qualified portrait category, where up to now, since February, you've been entering the unqualified category. Now you're up against the big boys. Now you're up against a lot of newborn photographers who are playing the game at a high level. And your aim now is in the next 12 to 24 months, you should be improving, perfecting, creating a more finesse about your work, and thinking of going for associateship, and then you'll be up there with Rachel, but she would have moved on to fellowship. And this is the continued process of learning and training, and the monthlies will just continue to help you, and you in turns will be helping others by inspiring them as well. What is interesting is with your business, your pet photography is very good as well. So you are, I was going to say when we come out of lockdown, but in a way we're already out of lockdown for portrait studios, but not for wedding photographers. But you are going to have a very successful, financially successful business if you get your website, your pricing and your marketing right, because your work is superb. You cannot use your work as an excuse for not having more customers or more work. You can move on from here. You can absolutely fly. There's another photographer I would suggest you look at, which is Paul Davis. And even to go over and visit Paul Davis at his studios, which are beautiful. Him and his wife run a fabulous business. And this is what the LMPA is all about. If I can direct you and suggest that you go and meet other photographers, even if you have to do it with face masks on, but you will just get better and better and better. And I really look forward to seeing a lot more of your work. you're making the most of being an MPA member. You haven't been a member for that long. You said you were looking around for an association that would drive you. Well, you've proved that the association, the MPA, is a catalyst for improving people. If people have got the desire to improve, we will help you do that. And you've achieved so much in such a short space of time, and that's why I say you should be very, very proud of yourself. So well done. Huge congratulations. I'm really pleased for you, and I'm glad I was able to help you, and I look forward to seeing a lot more of your work and your success.